The Epstein files. I remember when we were kids, we used to hear a term or a phrase, don't spill the beans. And it wasn't talking about the beans at the supper table. It was about don't tell, don't snitch. Now that they're releasing the Epstein files, it looks like a toilet's about to overflow. And when a toilet overflows, it's going to get crap everywhere. And it should. Check this out. Last night, it was revealed this. That Zoran, the clown mayor of New York City, voted in by clowns that think it's okay to vote in a communist and an Islamic after what happened in 9/11. That's his mom. I want you to get a good look at that woman. She's Muslim, right? Look at the way she's dressed. She doesn't have a burqa. She's got a little cleavage showing. It has been revealed she's on the Epstein list. What was she doing? What was Epstein doing with her? Or Ghislaine? Wow. See, sex isn't just reserved for perverted men. You got women involved in this. Let that sink in. Teenage girls. And look what you got. That's a mind blower. A mind blower. The protesters surrounded Zoran's mansion last night, yelling and screaming. Zoran's a hypocrite. Why does he have iron gates around his mansion? He supports the Democrat left, which doesn't believe in a wall, lets illegals come into the country, but he's got wrought iron fence around his mansion. Why? How come these people never model what they claim to believe? Never. Because the word Democrat can be translated hypocrite. The word hypocrite just needs to have the noun Democrat in it. That's all you need. The Democrat left defines the word hypocrisy. That's fact. This is Zoran's mama implicated in the Epstein files. And his voters are upset. Why are his voters upset? You voted in a clown. Now you're finding out he is a clown. And you guys were clowns to vote him in. What's the problem? What are you protesting? You think Muslims and communists aren't capable of being involved in naughty stuff? Are you freaking serious? You think the communists have a moral compass? You think that this woman has a moral compass? Now you guys are going to laugh. I actually thought she wasn't too shabby looking. That's Ghislaine Maxwell. She's serving a 20-year prison sentence down in Florida. She had sex with a teenage girl. But I want to show you something. We need to talk about this. Because we're going to be revealing a few things I learned. Okay? This is another look at Ghislaine. Not a shabby looking woman. What's she doing with Epstein? He not exactly gifted in the GQ department, but now we get into some problems. That woman right there has been implicated, and they're going to be looking at the emails that she had with Ghislaine. She was very fascinated with Ghislaine Maxwell. So now they're going to be looking at her emails. That's Donald Trump's wife. It's really weird when you look at the spider web of people involved in this. His wife's not a bad-looking woman. Ghislaine wasn't a bad-looking woman. The question is, did she know what those two were doing? Was she complicit in this? She posed with some lesbian photo shoot, and the Democrats went ape crap over that. And I said, wait a minute, Democrats, you're all pro-LGBT, and she did a soft porn pose with another woman. What's the problem here? The Democrats are funny in how they just jump on whatever bandwagon that's convenient for them at the time. Bill Gates has been implicated in this mess. I want to know who all was in this. I want to know who's in this. I voted for Donald Trump. But if Donald Trump was involved in this, wrong is wrong. And if Donald Trump and his wife were involved in this, wrong is wrong. I'm a man, I can admit, I voted for Donald Trump on what he ran for. But if he was involved in this, ruh-roh. But what the Democrats are finding out is there's people involved in it, and they're shocked it's their own. Zoran's mother. Let's switch back to her. They were protesting at his mansion last night when the news came out that that woman, which is the mother of a communist Islamic, I'm assuming she's Islamic. This is what I don't understand. They promote Islam, but notice her face is not covered. Notice she got a little cleavage showing up. Funny, they come here and they want freedom and they want to push Islam. And yet they're not honoring the Islam as it's, played out in the Middle East. Is anybody seeing a theme here? I am. I absolutely am. They don't want to live in their country, but they want to come over here and have the freedoms that Americans enjoy. And then they want to pollute and crap in our waters with their crap, their cultural crap, their religious crap, and mandate for that for the rest of us and bring in Sharia law. I got a problem with that. Take your dog crap and go back home. Because it's crap. Islam is crap. And I don't care if anybody's offended. It's a false religion. It is crap. And they deny women's rights. Ilhan Omar would never be allowed to be a politician in her country. Never. It's a male-dominated belief system. It is extremely chauvinistic against women. They'll catch a woman in adultery and they'll stone her, but not the man. Kind of like the religious leaders did when they brought an adulteress to Jesus and said, look, master, patronizing him. Religious leaders, that's only God you're talking down to. Hello? She was caught in adultery. I'm surprised Jesus didn't say, where's the dude? And I'm going to say something right now. As an American male, whites, blacks, Hispanics, people will call a woman a WHORE or an SLUT that goes from bed to bed. But when a man does it, oh, he's a stallion. But look at this. She's been implicated with Jeffrey Epstein. How old is that woman? I mean, was she playing with him? Was she playing with Ghislaine? Was she involved with the teens? Let's show another damning picture. And let's put Michael Nelson's discussion on this. Because I'm going to say some things going to shock you. You all know who that is? Well, isn't that Prince Harry? You see Ghislaine's face in the background. That's a teenage girl. That's Virginia. Is it Virginia Roberts? She wrote a book. She started a foundation for sexually trafficked women. But I want you to notice something. And Virginia's not going to like what I have to say, but it needs to be said. I want you to look at that girl right there. Okay, they got people reading body language now. Tell me what you see in that. I don't see a forced smile. I'm sorry. I drove school buses. A lot of teenage girls have that moody attitude face today. Do you see how happy she is? I mean, she obviously is quite happy there. And this is something I've noticed about women in our culture. You can tell that's not a faked face. If that was faked, if that was contrived, look at the shirt she's wearing. Okay, this is a public photo, so I'm going to talk about this. Look at the body language of her face. She's very content. She does not look under duress. She doesn't look like she's forced. Everybody there looks like they're having a good old hee-haw time. They're all smiling like they got a bag of Doritos or something. And I want you to notice that this is a public photo, by the way. Virginia Roberts is the victim and the drama queen and started dealing with sex trafficking, which I believe that stuff needs to come to an end. But I don't see her under duress there. She looks pretty effervescent and happy. Look, I want to tell you a little secret. Young women today, we got women in our culture that play victim all day long. All day long. But if I read body language, she looks like she's enjoying this one. She's with royalty. That had to puff up her little head huge. Right or wrong? Right or wrong? Forget all that. Okay? That young lady is now older. She's not as desirable today as she was then by those people. And I noticed this about Cosby. Now, I'm not defending Cosby. I'm not defending the two adults on either side of this, Virginia. But I'm making an observation that needs to be made. Okay? That if you're going to read body language, because the Democrats want to keep reading body language with the ICE protesters and Alex Petty, let's read the body language of this young woman. People that are sexually abused, people that are taken captive against their will, you're going to see it in the face. You can't fake happiness. I'm looking at that. I've worked with teens most of my life as a school bus driver. Teens typically reflect in their face whatever's going on in that brain of theirs. I don't know. I see a pretty relaxed, happy girl. Why? This is something that happens in America that we're going to talk about today, and this is not going to make women happy. You got a lot of young ladies that come after older men. Still goes on. And when they get their chance, then years later, they want to play victim. They did it to Cosby. They claim Cosby drugged them. Why did it take 30 years to come out? Why? Stop and think about that. Virginia now heads up, a sex trafficking thing and, trying to, protest that, which I totally condone that. But if a picture's worth 1,000 words, that picture's worth a lot of commentary. That doesn't look like somebody who's feeling the duress of abuse. Number one, women are fickle. I'm sure at that time she probably enjoyed every minute of it. As her years went by and her looks started to change and she's no longer a hot market, hot topic item. This is just my opinion now. Now the bitterness sets in. Now she's thinking, hey, I'm going to get some money out of this. And she did. I didn't read, but she got quite a bit of casharoo. But again, that picture, she doesn't look anything like that now. Not even close. And I don't support sex trafficking. It is my position that Facebook should be held accountable by the FBI with the videos called Reels, Reels. They are a problem. They're a stumbling block to men and lesbians. And they're showing underage girls with no bras with, those pokies showing, even slippage. And Zuckerberg, the great moral expert on everything, has not shut that down. But if I have a post and I referred to a lot of these young women and older women on Facebook as SLUT, teases, my Facebook was shut down saying that I was sexualizing girls because I posted it was a meme. It was a meme, and it did not show a girl, and it was a paddle that said slut tease. I posted that, and I said, these young women are getting on here with provocative reels, and where is Zuckerberg? So I've noticed something. When you start speaking the truth on Facebook, community standards violation, we're going to shut you down. Where's the FBI? Where's the Department of Homeland Security? Where's the sex trafficking laws that Congress passed? Reddit and Craigslist shut down their ads. Those of us who remember, anybody do Craigslist dating? I did. I know, embarrassing, right? Every woman I met on Craigslist was a complete joke. Every single one. But they had men seeking men, women seeking women. They'd have grown men. I'm 50 years old, adult, 50 years old, wearing diapers. I want somebody to mother me and treat me like a baby. I used to read the Craigslist ads on my former Pacific Ocean Asia channel. People loved that. I was driving a school bus in Denver, and I pulled up at the school, let off the kids, and a teacher came up. She goes, "Oh my gosh, are you the guy on YouTube?" And immediately I'm like, yeah. "I love your Craigslist ads." I said, "Really?" She goes, "Oh my gosh, it's so funny. When you read that, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's saying the truth." Nice to know that somebody in Denver had seen my channel and a woman had liked it. I am not mitigating or minimizing what Virginia went through, but teenagers, I'm going to say something. They are as fickle as you can get. Women in general, they're like the ocean. One minute it's calm and placid. The next minute it's throwing 45-foot waves and threatening everybody on a ship and every ship out there. Body language experts, tell me what that picture's saying. And I bring this up because our society, our self-righteous society, would say, "Oh, it's terrible what they did." I don't know. I'm looking at her picture. All three of them are smiling. This Prince Harry or Andrews, whatever his name is he's old enough to be her dad. That's the scary part. I drove a bus. I have experienced teens making hints, overt and subtle. Did not act on it. Did not act on it. I had a discussion with bus drivers. We were all on a charter one day. Charters, we were a private bus company, and we would be hired to do charters, what other school districts call excursions or field trips or activities. And the guys were saying, "Oh my gosh, we were all in our 20s. And they were commenting on how pretty the high school girls were on their route. And I said, "Yep, they're beautiful. And we cannot entertain that at all. We're in a position to trust. These girls will try to come on to us. There are girls that are fascinated with older men. There are girls that don't like the babies in their school and the babies. And look at a lot of young men today. Black or white, look at a lot of young men in the schools today. They are very immature. Most of them don't know how to do chores. They're listening to crappy music. They think they're all that. They think they got swag. And you got a lot of young ladies out there that do mature faster than boys. And they'll hit on us. But the minute you take that bait, they'll be the first one that'll get you in deep, deep bandini. You have to use wisdom. I'm not comfortable with teenage girls. Alone? Would not. No, 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 no. I don't have them in my house. I don't seek out relationships with them. No. And it's funny, a lot of people play victim as they know there's lawsuits involved. And I want to be fair on this channel. I am a conservative, and I'm not going to apologize for that. But what are we going to do, those of us that voted for Trump, if it finds out he and her were involved in that? Are we going to be objective? Because I've been honest. People have made a cult, and they do this every time. You had the Biden cult. You had the Obama cult. You had the Clinton cult. You had the Bush cult. And I'm going to say it. You have the MAGA cult. And I have said on my channel over and over again, do not pedestalize me or anybody else. Because they will and we will let you down. I'm a human being. I am not Jesus Christ. I am not sinless perfection. Nobody is. But let's talk about another person. She's worth $900 million. And I want to ask a question. Is she qualified to talk about moral issues? Is that woman qualified to make a moral stance? Let's run a couple more of those beautiful bean footage photos of her. Is she qualified to talk about moral issues? All right, let's analyze things. Not her real hair color, bleached out, frizzed out, destroyed hair. The tats all over the back. Not sure what's going on there. I don't call that pretty. Looks like somebody scribbled with an ink pen. Black eyebrows. That's the dead giveaway. That's not her natural color. And yeah, we're going to listen to this. Standing up for illegals that are here illegally. You notice the entertainers live the good life, got the mansions, got all the good stuff. $900 million. For what? Did she go to a warehouse? Did she drive a school bus? Did she fix your leaky faucet? Did she frame up and sheetrock your house? Did she repair your cracked driveway? Did she put a roof on your house? Did she serve you your food at the restaurant? Did she wash dishes in the back room of the restaurant? Did she clean the hotel before you came in and checked in for the day? Give me a break. And this is what's wrong with America. We pay these entertainers ungodly amounts of money. And guess what? The beat still goes on. Let's showcase a couple of YouTubers. I don't know these people, okay? I want you to look at, okay, she had 277 viewing. No, that's the wrong one. Let me go back. She had 188 likes, okay? I don't know who this is. Falsetto eyelashes way out to the left. She's talking about eating rice or something this morning. And I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. She's got all the likes. She's a woman. That's it. Content, 0. Now let's show this one. I want you to look very carefully. 603 likes on this. Oh, nope, that's not a girl. That's a guy. We got a little emo, furry and a tattoo explosion on a boy, a man. People come onto my channel because I'm wearing a woman's top and make very rude and hateful comments. And check this out. 603 likes. I have never gotten 603 likes on any live or anything at any live I've ever done. And you know why it is? I'm a guy. I'm a conservative. I'm a Christian. Let's see. This guy has got a real game going on. 300 likes for face reveal. Wearing a ski mask. 131 likes, 90 watching. This was just this morning. This is not content. This is gimmicks. We're not going to get 131 likes for me to put a mask on my face and saying 300 likes and I'll show my face. Sheesh. So let's zero in on this beautiful bean footage. I found another picture, which is just these two separated. Does that look like a woman in distress? That's a natural smile, folks. I grew up with a mother who was not photogenic, and you could tell when she was faking the smile. You can tell on the internet when things are not real. I've noticed that I yell and I get passionate. And people freak out on that. And the reason is they don't see passion anymore. When I speak, I get into it. I use my hands. I raise my voice. You look at a lot of people today, they're zombies. I want to ask a question to all you viewers. ABC had a open or a hot mic. You know, when they thought they were off the air, then the cameras were rolling. And when the cameraman realized what's going on, oh, boom. The news desk woman said, we had, Prince Harry, we had the Clintons regarding Epstein. Let me tell you something. If I was a witness, say I saw something involving that gal or teenage girl anywhere in America. I didn't have anything to do with it, but I was a witness. I will be subpoenaed. I will be called to the court to testify. Why was ABC not subpoenaed? They said they had everything on these people. Way before all this. Why were they not subpoenaed by the FBI and called in saying, hey, the news is saying they got dirt on these people. Come on, let's go to court. You notice how the media has total immunity? The media that puts himself up as the great moral justice, you think they would have ponied this up to protect these young women. They didn't. Because the media is the left-hand extension of the left. And the left-handers were all involved in this dirty stuff. What I want to know, in all fairness, is how many conservatives were involved in this. I mean, the who's who list is unbelievable. What is she doing in there? She's a Muslim woman. What country is this clown from anyway? Anybody know? Is he Iranian? And these voters are calling shame and standing outside making noise. His wrought iron castle in New York. I always laugh at these guys. You're against a wall. You're pro-illegal, but you got a big wall and security system around your house. You know, I'm getting tired of that. You're protected by guns. You're protected by cops. You're protected by a security system. You're protected by a wall. And you tell all of us that we're racist for not allowing illegals to flood into the country? Why don't you tear down your fence? Why don't you get rid of your hitmen and live like the rest of us have to do and face the music of your own crap? I'm tired of these leaders because they do not model what they talk. And I'm going to tell you again, Americans, trust the actions, not the words. And this is the crap that New York voted for. They didn't learn. And they never do. Now they're upset. What was this woman doing involved in that? She's supposed to be a Muslim, right? She likes her son, who's a communist. Were communist Muslims molesting underage girls? That's a good question. Islam is a mysterious, fascinating, hypocritical, damnable religion. There's a name for it, and I don't know what it is, but the Islamics are not immune from gay desires. They'll take a young boy, dress him up like a woman. He dances and parades around. All the old men are sitting there getting scintillating pleasure out of that. Muslim women, when their husbands go to work, are now grinding against each other in their burqas. I'm not making this up. I do a lot of reading and a lot of stuff. Islam is no stranger to LGBT behind closed doors. That's a fact. And you got all these people acting like this is bad, and then they're quietly participating in it. And I don't know when people around the world are not going to come to an acknowledgement that Jesus Christ stated a long time ago, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. And everybody acts like they're perfect. I have no sympathy for the voters that voted this in. I have contempt. I have disrespect. You obviously think it was okay for the trade towers to fall. They had a CU Boulder Native American professor make the term Little Eichmanns. And that should have opened our eyes to universities. They employ anti-constitutional, anti-biblical, anti-science, anti-common sense. They employ activists that want to overthrow and upset the tea cart of what our country was founded on. Anybody getting tired of that? We're having multiculturalism, Islam, African American culture rammed and our faces rubbed in it like a dog in the dog poop. And I'm sick and tired of it. The definition of diversity is not just this group or that group. I'm the definition of diversity. You're the definition of diversity. But unfortunately, you got many American women in my race, they're corporate cookie stamp. Starbucks, dog, SUV. Starbucks, dog, SUV. LL Bean, Lands' End, North Face. They're bought and owned by corporate. The black community in America is owned by Nike. Nike hat, Nike shirt, Nike pants, Nike shoes, Nike socks. I wonder if they got Nike panties and Nike bras and Nike condoms and Nike beds. Who wants to be an advertisement for a filthy, rich, corrupt company that sent all their labor force to China and pay them $1 a day so you can be paying $900 for a pair of shoes that has less rubber in it than an automobile tire? You're stupid. You're really dumb. You're really dumb. You've been had. The joke's on you. Oh my gosh, I see grown men bragging about their overpriced shoes. You pay more for that pair of shoes than you did for 4 tires? You're dumb. And I do talk about this. And I talk about this Epstein stuff. What else is going to come out? Bill Gates caught STDs with Russian prostitutes. Isn't it nice to know that you can be intelligent, you can design Microsoft? By the way, there's a guy that worked with him down in, was it Las Cruces? There's another guy that worked with Bill Gates way back in the day. He said he had developed some things while they were working together, and Bill Gates stole the ideas, and fired him. Now, that could just be bitter roots. I don't know. Bill Gates is another clown. He built a house the size of a school up there in Washington, votes Democrat. You know, you notice these Democrats are all about preserving the environment. They all live in mansions. They all fly first class. Like Greta Thunberg complaining that her childhood is ruined. She got to ride in a diesel yacht. And I love boats in the sea. Nobody offered to give me a ride in a diesel yacht across the ocean. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. The Democrats don't model what they claim to believe. They want to share the wealth. They don't share the wealth. They want to allow the illegals to come over, but when they were sent to their posh, elitist, gated community like Martha's Vineyard, they turned that flight around within 24 hours. Prove that the Democrats can stop the madness, but they don't. They're the reason it goes on and on. They're the reason crime spikes in LA, Seattle, Chicago, New York, Baltimore, Portland, San Francisco. City councils pass laws in San Francisco, Seattle, and Denver that will not punish homeless for defecating and urinating on the sidewalk. True story, you can look it up. But if I come out of a bar, I don't drink, but if I come out of a bar in downtown Denver, an area called Lodo at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I've drank a little too much, and the bar's closed, and I'm walking to my ride or whatever, and I've got to go, and I pee against a brick wall in a dark alley and I get caught, you're now under the registered sex offender and you get arrested. But a homeless guy can pull his pants down and go, and nothing happens. You got to be kidding me. Nope, I'm not. You got to be kidding me. Every time these Democrats, they're the ones that are irrational. But let's go back to something. To those of us that voted for Trump. Are we going to be consistent? I'm going to say something. Okay? I'm going to say something. This is where I break ranks with the Trump supporters. Yeah, she's cute. But I've dated women in my life that to me were more sexy and erotic than her. I tend to prefer ethnicity myself. I lived in Hong Kong and I had quite a few escapades with pretty gals over there. When I say gals, they were adults. And they were beautiful, naturally beautiful women. I don't have anything against Trump's wife, but I have one question. Is she in love with him? Or is she in love with his bank account and his prestige? Trump is not what I call a beautiful man. He doesn't have physique. I think when he was younger, he was a handsome guy, but he's getting older now, and she still looks hot as a rock star. And you see that. You see a lot of guys with money, they marry a much younger woman. He gets great bedtime fun, and she has access to big bank account. I saw this when I lived in Hong Kong. I saw men that looked like Epstein, balding, big old pot nut, with a 25, 30-year-old Filipina that he's got his arm around her and smothering her, and you could tell she's just like, yuck, gross. But she's going through it because she can tap into his wealth. I'm sorry to say what I'm about to say, but I lived overseas and I've lived back in America, and I'm going to tell you that we men have to be very careful because we're under the influence of lust when it comes to a woman like this or any other that's attractive. And we can make irrational decisions based on our lust. And that woman, though she can be pretty and she can tantalize you, could be a snake on legs. I think most women and men have a motive. And I think most women love money the way a man likes looks. And women play on that. What about this one here? What about this? This is an Asian woman, okay? 311 watching, 65 likes. Now, I want to say something. I want to do something. We've got to do this. Got to do this, okay? We've got to do this. Bear with me, people. We're going to do a social experiment because this is what our country today is not learning, okay? This is what our country is not learning. This is what we are not learning. And bear with me, I'm changing my clothing. Now, I admit, we all know I'm a guy. But I want to do an illustration to drive a point home. Okay? I'm wearing essentially the same kind of a top that this young lady is. Any doubt about that? People will come on my channel and go, WTF? That's awesome. You know, 3 letters of a 26-letter alphabet. WTF. Ernie presents the letter W. Bert presents the letter T. Cookie Monster presents the letter F. I do this. I have a mental disorder. Watch this. Women dressed like that will get likes. They have no content. They're not talking about things like I am. They're not talking about actual political, current events, humanity in its raw form. They're not talking about that. In fact, they're not talking about much of anything. I've seen her before. She gets a lot of likes. I'm sorry. She's attractive. I've dated women similar to her in Hong Kong that looked similar to that. 30-year-old Philippine women. And they're eye candy. Okay? Let's be honest. But this guy is a dude. And he's got 603 likes. Very much trying to look femboy. Got eyeliner around his eyes. Green skateboarder hair. He's got emo and I don't know what going on. And you don't see them writing hateful comments to that. What I've learned about the internet is it's interesting what drives the likes. What is freaky, what is SLUTTY, that gets all the likes. That gets all the hearts. You talk about intelligent stuff like this, and you actually focus in on let's unpack these kinds of people. Now, I'm not a fan of the tattoo culture, but I'm not hating on the tattoos. I have many friends that have tattoos. But this is a woman who's made an amassed $900 million. And she's going to she said horrible things about Donald Trump. Bruce Springsteen wanting to seize the moment because his music sucks, or it sucked, and now he makes a song standing up for the adult toddlers, banging drums, blowing whistles, blocking traffic. You know, there was a time in this country when you acted like that in school, the teachers would send you to the principal's office. Now we're rewarding them. Grown people acting like children, disturbing the peace, blocking traffic, littering, vandalizing, all of those are a violation of Minneapolis city ordinances, county ordinances, state ordinances, and now they're screwing with federal agents. That's a violation of federal law. And these clowns are screaming justice. Man, every time I hear the left scream justice, I'm just like, oh, here we go again. While they're breaking every known law to man. This woman here We Americans are to blame for that. We made her a supreme narcissist, entitled, spoiled, B-R-A-T. We did that. Mow. Russian roulette is not the same without a gun. Bang, bang, boom, boom, bang, bang, boom, boom, bang, bang. I can do what I want. I can have so much fun. That is the summa cum laude of Western women culture. Covered in glop. Look at all the makeup. Tons of it. Heavy eyeliner. Bleach blonde hair. Tats all over her. What a good wife she would be. Not. Can you imagine being married to Gaga? She wore a meat dress. She's done some bizarre out there stuff. And people will not criticize that. So many guys will see this one right here. They'll see this picture. And they're almost like Beavis and Butthead. Wow, she's hot. She's hot. No, she isn't. Do you know what she believes? She's not hot. That's a liability, folks. You think you're going to tame that? You think you're going to rodeo and lasso that one? That's a wild Jezebel. And she thinks that she could comment on weighty political issues. If she wants to drink, if she wants to have sex, if she wants to do drugs, if she wants to spend all her money on herself, no problem. And she's going to tell us what's wrong with Donald Trump. I do have a problem with that. But Michael Nelson, that's me. I'm going to tell the truth. No matter what side of the fence it's on. I've told the truth about myself and my sins. And we got something really funny about the left. They never, ever, 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 ever admit they're wrong. Never. Bill Clinton got caught with his pants down in the Oval Office, get his winky oral pleasured by Monica Lewinsky. Nothing happened to him. I mean, talk about infidelity. And then clown Hillary gets on there about Trump when it was real about his locker talk on a coach bus 2 years before he ran for president about groping and grabbing women and all that dumb stuff. And says, you want this as our president? No, we want you. Where her husband's openly cheating on you, because if I had to be married to you, I'd probably have an affair too. Just saying. Can you imagine being married to Hillary? That'd be a sweet, passionate relationship. Cannot. Democrat women are to be avoided, I'm going to tell you. They'll emasculate you, boys. Look at Crapola Harris. She married a white dude while she's complaining about whites her whole tenure as a vice president. Word salad queen, summa cum laude. And I proved right here on social media how people, they'll full of hatred and rude comments, calling me a loser, saying I have mental issues. Honey, my mental state is clearer than any of you trolls, hands down. Hands down. This woman behind me is way more high profile than I will ever be. Involved with the Epstein shit show. Whoops. And now they're mad. The voters are mad. This woman's sitting in jail for 20 years. I've got one question. She looks exactly like a woman I dated in high school named Melinda. Melinda had that short hair, black hair, just like that. She was well and down the chest, and she was tall. It's funny, when I look at her, That looks very, very similar to facial features, to thick eyebrows, just like Melinda that I dated in high school. Same build for the most part. She's not a bad looking woman. People may dispute me on that. But she obviously had a thing for underage girls. How come she took the fall and nobody else did? Why did they go after her? Did Epstein really commit suicide? Or did Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, and all the others find a henchman or somebody to go in there and do him in? I don't like to get on conspiracy theories. There's lots of them. But I have a hard time believing that Epstein killed himself. I have a very hard time believing that. Number one. And number two, I've watched a lot of crime shows in the past. You know, when I had a TV. I don't have a TV. It's a waste of time. $250 for cable. No thanks. I watched enough crime shows where they get somebody in that room, the detectives, they're grilling somebody who's been involved in some serious criminal behavior. And these guys, these detectives are cut through. I'll tell you what, you better stop lying to me, man. You tell me who was involved and I'll make a plea deal with you. But stop playing with me. And everybody knows that you can make a plea deal. You can lessen your sentence if you pony up names. Did they do that with her? Do you think that woman's going to sit there in 20 years in a prison and not burp that out? Did they even give her the chance? Why wasn't she told? Because at that time, most of the FBI was holdovers from Hillary Clinton, and she had them in her back pocket. That's what I believe. It's really sick when big institutions that we trusted as kids, the FBI, we used to play as kids in the backyard. Put your hands in the air. This is the FBI. And everybody gets scared. When we heard names like CDC, Centers for Disease Control, when they said something, we listened until COVID came. And suddenly, the ugly, 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 ugly news dawned on us humans that the CDC is owned by the left. The FBI is staffed by the left. Federal judges are ex-hippies that were doing drugs that are all leftists. What has happened to justice? I love it when clowns on the street, clowns, scream justice for, and you fill in the blanks, while they're busting windows, blocking the streets, cussing at, spitting at, kicking out the taillight of a federal vehicle. Okay, buddy, you're credible. But he was a nurse. Oh my gosh, I'm glad he wasn't my nurse. Probably would have ripped my gonads out. Whoopi Goldberg's all up there suddenly an expert on gun laws. Did you see that? If you want to know the health of America, look at a TV show like The View and figure it out. I don't care that Trump's in office. I'm glad he got in there. But, we got a show like The View that's still airing. That is also what's wrong with America. That Lady Gaga can make $900 million going, Mao. Are you serious? Are you serious? Why do people tithe? Oh, I love this. I get so tired of the church asking for people to tithe. Oh, you don't like it. I'm not talking about the billionaires and the Joel Osteens and the Paul and Jan Crouch and the Jim and Tammy Faker and the Kenneth Copeland and Creflo Dollar and T.D. Jakes. I'm not talking about them. But you go to church, You claim to believe in God and you won't even support your pastor who that's all he does is go visit the shut-ins, pray for people, counsel people. He has a right to make a living. But you'll throw money at Gaga and Madonna and pro sports with people that don't give a rat's patootie about you and your personal struggles. They're selfish. They're entitled. They got money coming out of their butt cheeks. I remember Justin Bieber years ago was such a pain in the butt in Hollywood that they started circulating a petition saying he needs to go back to Canada. Anybody remember that? Justin Bieber was a putz. Now they're saying he came to faith in Jesus Christ. I pray that he did. All these people need to get saved. She does. She's still alive. She better have a come to Jesus moment. Zorhan. That there is a mess. My mama told me you better mess around. Oh, wrong song. I'm so proud of my boy. I'll bet you are, lady. I'm getting tired of the left and the left media and the school systems and the so-called woke police telling us what we can and cannot say. While they shove Islam in our face, while they shove Ilhan Omar in our face, she is offensive to me. Where's my rights? Where are the rights of the Jewish people when she gets on the House floor and screams and yells anti-Semitic, anti-Israel hate and goes on and on? Where's the gavel? Hey, Ilhan, stop. How come we can't fire these people? She should have been fired for racism. Nothing happens. Americans are disillusioned with the system. I am. You are. There is no justice in Washington. There is no justice on the left or the right. Clowns, jokers to the left, clowns to the right. Here I am stuck in the middle with you. Oh, but you can vote. It doesn't matter. And I will tell everybody, don't say you're not going to vote and complain. I don't want to hear it. Get out and vote. But our vote doesn't matter sometimes. These clowns continue. Mitch McConnell's got a good turkey neck going and it's getting longer by the day. These dang people are using the Capitol Hill as a nursing home and they're sucking off the government's TIT while I get charged higher taxes and employers are greedy and can't even give us a raise to keep up with the real cost of living. And Lady Gaga's worth $900 million. That's offensive to me. For what? What was her contribution to society? I tell you what, let's read what the Bible has to say about the times we're living in. Let's get some perspective, people. Let's do it. Because I'm going to tell you something. We better get this. And why is there a little eyelash tickling my left eye? Must be a leftist. All right, here we go. 2 Timothy 3. Verse 1 says, but realize this, that in the last days difficult times will come. Drop down to verse 4. Treacherous, reckless, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. Look at people that go to a concert, men and women. Talk about making an idol over somebody. That is a dysfunction in us, folks. Let me show you something. Let's get some perspective on these clowns that we call stars. Let's get some perspective on a biblical level. Where is it now? It's going to take me a minute to find it. Revelation 1:17. And when I saw him, we're talking about God, I fell at his feet as a dead man, and he laid his right hand upon me, saying, do not be afraid. I am the first and the last, and the living one. I was dead, and behold, I am alive forevermore, and I have the keys of death and of Hades. But elsewhere, an angel was speaking to him. When the angel showed up, John bowed to the ground. Do not do it. I'm a fellow servant. Why do we idolize Trump, Zoran, Biden, Gaga, Gugu, any of them, Shaq O'Neal? Taylor Swift. Why do we do this? Excuse me, by the way, I sneezed. Why do we do this? Why do we exalt these people? An angel told John, don't do it. And Christians do it to preachers. Oh, have you gone to Elevation? Have you gone to Hillsong? Oh my gosh, you got to go to Hillsong. No, I don't. Christian musicians. I heard a woman in Duluth years ago. She came out of Nashville. She told me this. Michael, Nashville is corrupt. These Christian music artists are involved in drinking, premarital sex, and drugs just as much as their country music and rock star counterparts. I said, really? She goes, all of them. Remember Amy Grant and Gary Chapman? Gary Chapman wasted his life on drugs. Amy Grant had an affair with Vince Gill, a country music singer. Amy Grant looks horrible now. She's not pretty. Go look at her net worth. The whole Christian music industry was entertainment, and they were making more money than hardworking Americans. I've got a problem with that. Why do we pay? I want you to study Shakespeare. Shakespeare is what you consider great literature. It's studied in high school. Macbeth and many of Shakespeare's writing, sonnets. Do you know back in his day, entertainers were considered the lowest of the lowest in British society. They were not respected. And America put them at the top of the heap. Evening news, tragedy, tragedy, tragedy. Oh, and Lady Gaga got her hair done today. They had a tsunami that took out 220,000 people in Indonesia and parts of Asia, and we're going to include in the evening news some stars BS. That's disgusting. Who cares? What are we going to do, Trump supporters, about this? Are we going to be honest? Or are we going to join the cult? Wrong is wrong. Now, she may not have had knowledge of this, but I find that hard to believe. We know Trump has a sex drive like everybody else. He was caught with Stormy Daniels and all that other stuff. We know Trump got around, get around. I get around. You know that. And I find it interesting the left likes to make a big deal about the sins of the Republicans while they're quiet about their own. They didn't say one word about Kamala Harris playing around with Mr. Brown in California who was a black man who was married and had multiple affairs on his wife. And it was rumored that he bought Kamala a Mercedes and spoiled her. And I think she was involved with Montel Williams at one time. What a bunch of clowns. The left is nothing but a Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey. It's a circus. Always has been. This guy, Epstein, looks like that clown. Is it David Letterman? Who's that guy? He ran his mouth about Charlie Kirk and he got suspended and played victim. What makes women go after them? I have no idea. I think most women in America have a real problem choosing decent men. They don't. And we men are trying so hard to get their attention, and you better ask yourself, why? But back to YouTube. YouTube is a reflection of the systemic problem in our society. She's going to get a lot of views because she is a woman. She's young and petite, an adult. We're wearing the same shirt. If I wear this, I'm mentally ill. Not, I live in the South and it's hot. Not, this is cheap. Not, this is, I live in my house and I just do what I do because I'm eccentric. None of these clowns bothered to realize the stars that they supported. Some of the guys wore some interesting attire. Mungo Jerry, in the summertime, I got women. I'm wore a fishnet shirt and a woman's scarf and had mutton chops. Nobody said a word back then about that weirdness. You know why they do it to me? It's because of what I believe. It's because of the message of what I talk about. And I even get Christians. Deuteronomy 22:5. Man, I know that verse well because it's been thrown at me hundreds of times. Man's not supposed to dress as a woman. Do you use that verse to talk to all the women dressing like, sounding like, acting like men? Ball caps on backwards? Hoodies? A girl in a hoodie, no, those were for guys. Jeans were for men. Oh, now we're getting into danger here. Listen a minute. Oh, I like a woman in tight jeans. You know, for decades, it was taboo for women to wear jeans. It was not okay in society. When a woman started wearing jeans, society was like, especially Victorian era society and Edwardian culture and all that. And you look at the church's stance, that was not okay. Now they're not only wearing jeans, they're wearing all manner of men's clothing. The church and male society doesn't say a word. Unless she's a not attractive butch lesbian, then they're, oh, that's gross. But men will date a woman who's greasy with overalls on and a ball cap on and a football jersey working on a car. I'm not into that kind of a woman. Which highlighted something. They talk about women's sexuality as fluid, and you see that. But men, I think more men are gay and they don't want to admit it. Why would you choose a girl that talks, walks, cusses, acts like tattoos? Tattoos were for men, folks. Always for men. It started with the sailors, the bikers, the prisoners. Then it went to everybody else, and then the women are doing it. Women want to be like men. I don't know why. Because they can't be. They say we can do just as good as men. No, you can't. The Bible says you're the weaker vessel. That's what this book says. You can go to the gym and wear your little electric meters and everything and run through town in your sports bra. But you're not made like us. God didn't intend that for you. Now, Michael talks about all levels of things. And I voted for Trump. I hope he and his wife weren't part of that crap with Epstein. But it's interesting. They were all buddies. I mean, you see the photo op there. But I want to come back and close with this. One thing I've noticed about a lot of Caucasian women, and this really bothers me, all the body language experts need to take a good look at that photo. That girl is living a dream. At that moment when that picture was taken, she looks to me like she's enjoying herself. Underage, gets a hobnob with some big people. Did you see the videos released where it showed them coming out of upper end malls across the ocean, getting back on the Epstein plane? Gucci bags. Man, those teen girls were knocking themselves out with all the bribes. Now, years later, oh, I was a victim. Yeah, nobody wants you now. Now you want to scream. Now you want to yell. Now you got your hand out. Now you want to go after the cash cow. They did it to Cosby. Now, Cosby did wrong. Drugged some women. Why did he do that? I remember when I was a kid, they used to slip me a Mickey. They used to put a Mickey in a drink, which is equivalent to what they call the date rape drug, 70s style. But what's funny is if I was like Cosby or Prince Harry or whatever, if I was in politics, this is what's sad about society. If I was to run for senator or Congress or whatever, and I got elected, I promise you this. Pretty women that don't give me the time of day would be schmoozing up to me so fast with a motive to make a powerful person fall. As it is now, the pretty women are not coming after me. That is a damning indictment on society. That pretty women don't want a single guy who's a homeowner who works hard, that stays on it. They're not interested in me. I'm not exciting enough for them. They want a married man. Look at Monica Lewinsky now. I wonder if Bill Clinton ever looks at himself and says, wow, I let that do what she did to me. Women are very good at that. I had a woman years ago date me. She told me she was raped repeatedly by her uncle and how it traumatized her. We went to church in Arizona and she kept sliding her hand down on my inner thigh and I'm like, man, this girl's bold. After church was over, I got out and I said, why are you doing that? You're arousing me and you're doing, but I want it. And I've dated some women that have been through stuff. I talked about Sarah, my favorite Caucasian date ever, and I should have married her. She likes Scarlett O'Hara. She had an apartment in West Duluth, and I used to walk from 1 West 4th Street all the way to the west side. She lived on the second floor of a turn-of-the-century house in the attic. She had Scarlett O'Hara pictures. She loved Gone with the Wind. She collected all that. She had portraits taken of herself that were absolutely beautiful. And I said, oh my gosh, look at your pictures. I'm going to call you Scarlett O'Sara. She had a couple pictures where she had her hair done. She looked like her. I came over to her house one afternoon and I noticed the trash, her waist. I saw these. I said, what are all your pictures doing in the trash? I don't want them. I said, what? You were proud of those. I pulled them out. I said, give them to me. No, Mike, throw them away. I don't want them. I said, you were showing me these a week ago with pride. What is going on? My cousin came over here to see me and raped me. What? I said, did you call the police? No. I said, you can still file a report. You should have called. They could have done a semen sample a hair follicle. Sarah, they could have nailed him. She asked if she could stay at my apartment. Can I stay with you a couple days? Yeah, you can stay with me. I learned some psychology. She asked me, I didn't make romantic advances towards her. I put my arm around her, but I kept my own inheatness under control for what she'd been through. She slept with me and she begged me to make love to her. I said, what? Michael, I want you to make love with me. I said, man, I didn't think you'd want anything to do with that. No, I want it from you. That girl was so aroused and so on fire. I'm like, what is going on here? There's a real weird psychological dynamic that takes place in some women that were violated. Then it's not right. In a weird way, even though they hated it, didn't like it, their sex drive is ignited. She wanted me to make love to her to erase what he had done to her. And I hate to say it, that was some of the best sex I ever had. I was dumb to listen to a Christian friend of mine. And the Bible does say, do not be unequally yoked. But she was coming to church with me. She was reading the Bible. You can't be dating an unbeliever. And he pushed and pushed and pushed, and I broke up with her. To this day, I realized if I was to be with a wife, that should have been her. We never had an argument. We never had a disagreement. She had a job, take care of handicapped adults. Her family liked me and accepted me, asked me if I wanted to accompany them to go to McGregor to visit one of the relatives. And we did. The guy used to work on the ore ships on Lake Superior. We had some good talk. And then Sarah and I went into the tall meadow behind his farm in 3 feet of grass and made love out there under a Minnesota sky with some cloud cover, but it's a warm with a breeze blowing, and what a beautiful thing. What has happened to women today? There is no Sarah out there for me now. That's gone. The 90s still had hope. Now you got all this decadent crap going on in Washington. They get away with it. They can screw whoever they want. Everybody's kept in the dark about it. Nobody wanted to release the Epstein files. And now they're coming out. But how much did they take out of it? How much did they hide? You know, what are we going to get? When are we going to get the damn truth? I'm sorry, but that guy on the left there is nothing to look at. I'm not being gay, but that's not a handsome man. Maybe to some women he is, but women think he's handsome because he's royalty. I could care less about that. Hairy, sweaty dude. That's it. That's all he is. Look up Virginia Roberts now. She doesn't look anything like that. Doesn't have that beautiful long hair. Doesn't have that beautiful countenance. She's aged out. And it's going to happen to me. It's going to happen to all of us. This was basically an elite gentleman's club is what it was. And obviously some elite women. How does Zoran's mother factor into this? A Muslim woman that has a communist son, how does she get all involved in this island of fun and sin? I'm going to say something as a man. I worked with youth. And there are men that violate youth and women. There's a growing number of women, 30-year-old teacher doing something with a 14-year-old boy in the class. You're like, why? I've always been a small guy. And when I started driving bus, you had women that were my size, well endowed, coming on to me on the bus. I played dumb. I acted like I didn't know what was going on. I was professional. How are you today, young lady? How was school? I made sure to draw the line. You're in school. I'm an adult. That's it. That's it. Were they attractive? Did I not feel the flattery? Did I not feel the drive in me? Of course. But I always had the imaginary line, this one, no crossing. What I don't like in American society that needs to be addressed, no pun intended, you got girls going to school wearing stuff like this. And you got the mothers of those girls saying men are perverts, men are pigs. Dumb mothers. Newsflash. This guy right here and all these men and all the men in society, we are hardwired by our Creator. If a woman's dressed like this, we're going to notice it. It's called Biology 101. That is the true definition of science. It's called a sex drive. And I don't care if a man's 70 or 13. The sex drive is alive and well. And what happens is you got young ladies dressing inappropriate in public, in school. And those same teen girls, oh my gosh, he's a pervert. Oh, somebody old enough to be your grandpa's a pervert because he's looking at you. You think when they're 70, the sex drive evaporates? It doesn't. It may dry up in women at that age, but it doesn't. I don't know why God cursed us with that on fire till late in their life, but he has. And you'll call somebody a pervert because you're not interested in that guy, but you're trolling. Trolling is like when you stand on the back of the boat, you cast out your line, you usually get a lure with some bait on it, and that lure is doing things in the water, jigs or whatever they call them. And the fish are attracted to that. Ooh. And they'll zero in and poof. Girls, when you're dressed like that, you're trolling. You could catch a shark, an octopus, a fish. My point, young ladies, if you don't want to catch the things you don't want to catch, stop coming out here in public where there's all kinds of different sea life and go fish in your own pond. Go fish in your high school reservoir. Stop putting yourself out in our adult world and coming on to us and not wearing a bra and dressing provocatively, because that creates a very uncomfortable, awkward situation for us. We know it's against the law to date underage women, but you're playing with our hormones, and moms, shame on you when you try to dress like your daughter. You're not their friend, you're the parent. Start being it. I drove a school bus, and I'm here to tell you, I've seen a lot of stuff. And I'm in my mind going, what is the mother thinking? Like tweens that get on a bus and they're not wearing a bra, and all of a sudden, they're poking out. I'm sorry, I'm a guy, and if I notice my girl's budding out, I'm going to say, honey, you and I need to go to the store. We need to talk to one of them dressing clerks and talk about sizing you up for a bra. What's a bra? Well, it's to cover up those things, and you need to put it on. I'm a guy saying that. Where's the women? Where's Zuckerberg? Where's Mr. Zuckerberg, who condemned and shut down Trump's Facebook account? And I've had Facebook shut down for saying conservative things. Where are the FBI and the so-called sex trafficking division of our government when it comes to Facebook and social media? So here's what I've learned about the Democrats. They are promoting pedophilia. They've been doing it for decades now. Gavin Newsom wants to make it, he wants to decriminalize men with younger boys doing gay things. Pay attention to this stuff. When they push for gay marriage and all this, I said years ago, as we keep knocking over one domino, it's eventually they're all going to fall. And you got women. There was in Australia a mother, excuse me, a mother, the neighbor heard stuff, saw stuff, the curtain was open, and saw mom and daughter get naked and on the bed having a good old time. He turned it in. It went to court. Teenage daughter got on the witness stand and said, my mother and I enjoy it. What's wrong? They've got videos now. I saw them the other day. They were on YouTube. They were coming through the feed. It's showing a mother and a daughter tongue kissing. We're talking little ones, very underage, going, what's that? What kind of a mother is tongue kissing her daughter, period, let alone underage? What about the public schools? I don't know where this was, but they showed a picture and they had a discussion on YouTube where a teacher with a tie on, collared shirt, there's a plexiglass hanging down, there's the classroom table, and they'll spray whipped cream on the girl's side and peanut butter on the guy's side, and they both on either side of the glass are going, what the hell is that? Of course, you know what it is. The school system pushing for people to explore their inner fantasies. Can you imagine if I had a daughter and she came home and told me that this was going on? I'd probably be getting arrested at the PTA meeting. The school system is not your child's friend anymore, folks. Christian parents, you better find a Christian school or homeschool your kids and get them out of the public ed system. It is dangerous. They are an extension of the left. If you don't believe me, watch the video series Indoctrinate You. That's the letter U. About a college guy or a young man that exposed the left-leaning schools. There's a woman that works for Cal Berkeley. Cal Berkeley is as liberal as you can get. Been the site of many hotbed controversies and riots back in the day. And her boss, an administrator, said, is that your husband who's down there doing Republican demonstrations and stuff? Yes, it is. She said to the woman who was in administration for Cal Berkeley, if I'd have known that you were Republican, you would have never been hired on here. Ooh, it's too bad she didn't have a body cam. I said this the other day, and I'll say it again. The Democrats are screaming about how whites are racist. The media is screaming about how whites are racist. Do you know why they do that? Because they're drawing attention away from their racism, their discrimination, and projecting it onto everybody themselves. The college and universities and public schools are not going to hire a born-again Christian conservative on the teaching staff. They're not going to do it. I spent 20 years, give or take, driving school buses. I love driving a big yellow bus. I thought it was cool to drive a bus. I didn't think about working with kids as much as I wanted to drive a big yellow bus. I didn't want to deal with children. I just wanted to drive a big yellow bus. I remember when I was in high school, we did cross country trips or track meets. I love riding the bus for bus trips, play our ghetto blasters, talk with your friends. I used to love hearing the sound of the old cat engines. I would sometimes talk to the bus driver. I was the only one that would talk to the bus driver. I would sit on the edge of the doghouse and talk to the bus driver. He'd tell me what kind of engine was in it. I never realized it in all the years I drove, but I began to see it. This iconic American signature trademark is part of the problem. Busing these kids to go to get indoctrinated to become activists, communists, socialists, Muslim, LGBT, anti-God, anti-Bible, anti-science. Yep, I said that. Anti-science. I learned more looking out this windshield than I ever would have in a classroom looking out the window. Because from behind this driver's seat, screen share is killing me. Behind the driver's seat, I got an education I never thought I'd get. Suits and ties, minivan moms, attorneys, people, police cars. On a straightaway, we go through my stop sign. I saw the way people drove with their license plates, their statement of faith, or whatever they believed, or whatever party they supported on their back window. And I came up with the slogan years ago. You can fool people of who you are until they see how you drive your car. They're arresting down in Florida people that are going 100 miles an hour. These scat pack cars, they're getting on, they're passing people on the shoulder on the interstate and doing things. I looked at the comments under those videos. Talk about trolls and the people that are the problem in American society. The comments were in favor of the speeders acting bad. I thought, these are not people you should give a driver's license to. Excuse me, nose blowing time. I support responsible, law-abiding driving. Driving is not a right, it's a privilege. And people are entitled with that too. They should take away that car and the license, sell the car, even if the clown owes money, he can pay the bank. And because the police confiscated it, they can get it retitled and they can sell it to fund the police to deal with the clowns in society. I support that. You think you got a right to break the traffic laws. And I'm amazed at how many Americans I talk to that'll get angry about this and that politically, but they'll get in their car and drive like a madman. Women too. I don't want to date a woman who drives like a fool. I don't want to ride in a car with that. And people will wear a suit and tie. They'll get a degree. They'll go to church. They'll go to events. And they'll act. But when they get in their car, you can find out if they're impatient. You can find out if they're compassionate. You can find out if they have self-control. You can find out if they're lawful, obedient citizens by how they drive. You interested in a girl? You interested in a guy? Watch how they drive. That'll tell you more about them than anything that comes out of the pie hole. Yes, I go the speed limit in my truck. Yes, I use my turn signals. back to my original question. If Donald Trump and his wife are guilty of something, can those of us who voted for him stand up for what is right? I thought it was interesting. Trump supporters were saying how beautiful she was and she's the best looking first lady ever and this and that. And I admire women. I do. She's not bad looking. She definitely would register a pulse on my sexual radar. But that kind of a woman would never date us, ever. We're a caste society. That's why, a caste system. And we all know that the elites got double standards. We know that they can do things behind closed doors that they never get caught for or think they'll never get caught for. While we try any of that, we're busted. I voted for Trump, but I don't look at him as my Lord and Savior. If Trump and her were involved with underage girls, they need to be brought under the justice of the laws as they're written, just like anybody else. And the Democrats want that. They want him arrested. They want him incarcerated. Why did they arrest Bill Clinton? It is actually against the law to cheat on your wife in America. I don't know if you're aware of that. It can be prosecuted. It rarely is. But not only did he do that, he did it in the Oval Office while being on the clock. Can you imagine if I poonged the secretary at work on the clock in her office and got caught by the president or the owner of the company? Yeah, I'd be fired. Why do these people get immunity? That's ridiculous. And to listen to Hillary, you want this man as our president? No, we want your husband who was unfaithful as all get out, Paula Barbieri and everybody else. You notice you don't hear Clinton saying anything in public anymore? I think he finally got shamed and he just shuts up. And there's another question. Why is Hillary and him still married? You think they have great sex? You think they're in love? You got to be kidding me. It's political. I asked the question, does this woman love Donald Trump? We'll never know. We'll never know. Women are good at acting. They can play that game. She can hold him lovingly out in public and look like, ooh, trophy wife. She gets good cash payoff for that. I question those kind of marriages. Trump's worth a lot of money. And women love money. If I was a billionaire like Trump, I'll bet you all across the American landscape there'd be girls coming on to me left and right. Rare it is to find a woman who's in love with a guy without a motive in today's culture. Yes, I can be objective because I didn't vote for a sinless president. I voted for a man who stood on the issues that are dear to me. I'm tired of the illegals coming in. I'm tired of unfair trade practices. I'm tired of Democrats destroying this country. And it's funny to listen to Democrats talk about morals and justice. Hollywood celebs yelling at Trump talking about groping women. Oh, Hollywood's never groped women, huh? Man, they've been doing it forever. They promote. You got married people in real life having sex on screen with other married people, acting, getting paid. What a job. Can you imagine somebody came to me and said, Mike, we're going to pay you. We want you to go to bed and make love to Angelina Jolie. Really? Or back in the day, Bo Derek or Farrah Fawcett. You're going to pay me to do that? Okay, I'll sign up. Might be stressful, but I'll sign up. And this is where America's lost touch, even Christians. We'll watch a movie, two actors, actresses in real life married to significant others, and they're in bed, naked together. Hollywood's always encouraged pushing it. Always. And they're going to get up and talk about guns need to be banned. Okay, well, start with your movies, Hollywood. Now you got a good-looking woman with this going on. She's got a gun and she's got these guns, both pokies. And guys like that. A woman that looks like a toughie. I'm sorry, but Americans are kind of sick, aren't they? They'll watch Hollywood push violence, push infidelity. Oh, that was a great movie. And Donald Trump talking about groping women. What's wrong with him? What a bunch of hypocrites. We let Hollywood lull us into this weird way of double standard thinking. Hollywood doesn't promote biblical values, family values, Christian values, monogamy. Are you serious? Look at it, look at this. Look at the way she's dressed. That's a problem to me. You're going to go out in public dressed like a nightclub, and she can get away with that. I wear this shirt, and all the guys that say that they're against this are telling me I'm ugly. Wait a minute. You're telling me I'm gay, which I'm not, and you're judging my looks. Who's the gay one here? That'd be you, projector. And the guys that go after man-acting women, and they're going to judge me for wearing the same top that they're slobbering over with this one. The dichotomy of American psychology on the internet. We're wearing virtually the same shirt. But Mike, she's a girl. She's an adult woman. Asian women look a lot younger than we do. I find that fascinating as well. She looks like she could be a teenager. Let's do this. Let's do a comparison. Let's do this. Oh, baby. That is a teenager. Who looks younger? The Asian. And why do you think a lot of guys go after Asian women? You want truth? They look like they're underage. That's not what drove me. But a lot of guys like that because they can have the best of both worlds. She's of legal age, but she looks young. That's built in most guys, women. But hold on. This is what women my age are doing. Okay? Bathed in makeup. Fake blonde, bleach blonde, not even natural color. Tattoos all over her. Eyeliner. Painted on eyebrows, whatever she's got going on there. I don't find that sexy. I don't find that attractive. A lot of men would love to be with an Epstein Island because a lot of women our age, they were rebellious, they drank and smoked and lived the hard life. And when they get to my age, most of the women that are my age in America, I have no interest in because they let their everything go. I'm sorry, I'm 59 years old. And I just expect a woman comparable to me. So, of course, I would prefer younger, not teenagers, but I would prefer younger because my body hasn't gone to the wayside yet. But most 59-year-old woman, these are no longer right here. They're in the basement now. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that woman with her clothes off. Just saying. And women get mad at me when I say that. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. When you were in your prime, you ignored me. You laughed at the idea of me being interested in you when you were in your prime. Turnabout is fair play. Now you're older. Now nobody's coming after you, and you think I look pretty good. Sorry. Well, now it's the opposite now. You're not my type. You were, but now you're older. You're aged out. You're a rusty freighter that's waiting on the beach in India for the breakers to break it up. I'm not interested. I can't use that. You are getting exactly what you did, and you don't like it. And you got Christian women in the church that are 350 pounds saying, well, God looks at the heart. Of course he does, but God's not going to marry you and have sex with you either. And people get really mad when I say that. You expect us men to like you just for this. Nice, huh? You got an eating problem. Now, there are some women that I understand no matter how hard they try, they got a weight issue through no fault of their own. I'm admitting that me as a man, and this is not a flaw. I'm not, shoot, that thing scared me. What are you doing coming up to my butt? Troll. Fell over and touched me. I'm like, there's an animal in my house? I'm not attracted to obesity, whether it's intentional or otherwise. It's the way I'm wired. I don't want to see that naked. I can't get excited or turned on by that. And I should not be demonized for that. I'm living what I believe. I want a woman that's comparable to me. Fit, slender, still in good shape. I don't want a woman with lunch lady arms. I don't want a woman with boobies that go like a grandfather clock. Ding dong. No thanks. Am I being irrational? Not at all. It's a preference. I remember years ago looking on Craigslist, which again, the finest of the fleet we get on there. There was a white woman got on there. She had arms that big around. She's quite obese. She had an attitude, and I watched her post. She had multiple pictures of herself. All attitude. I want a man who can do this. She had a list of requirements that were far more lengthy than to get into an Ivy League school. And she goes, I will not date obese men. I find them disgusting. I thought, oh, really? I had no interest in her, and I thought, oh, I'm going to poke the bear. I wrote her back. I said, I'm not interested in you, but I did read your post because I like to read posts. I said, I'm looking at your pictures and you're obese, and you're saying you find obese men disgusting. Have you looked at yourself in the mirror? And I went off. She responded in 60 seconds. I was like, oh my, caps lock. Shut the F up. No one asked you. I'm not obese. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. You're just upset because you're probably 10 tons and you can't get a date. I wrote her back. I said, I don't date white women at that time. I date slender Asians, and I lived in Hong Kong, and the women that I dated were far better looking than you, since you want to be so rude. Caps lock again. Don't write me or I'll turn you in for harassment. I said, I'm not harassing you. I'm responding to your post and giving you a little perspective. But I won't write you again. But if you write me again, then I will call it harassment. Ping, send, block. Stupid. And this is what women do on the dating sites in America. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. This one. Oh, isn't she cute? Wouldn't you guys like to feel those little lipstick lips on you? You think that's good? This is the problem. She's not bad looking in the frame. The face is already damaged with all the makeup. The hair's not real. And women that dye their hair, it destroys it, by the way. Now watch this. Watch this. This is fun. Let's do this. This will really cause a reaction. I got to see if I can do this without making a mess. I'm still here. Because I'm not a girl, this is hard. Hey, not bad for no experience. Now, if you really want to get the hateful comments, check this out. You know, if I do a real close shave and I was to wear a wig at 59, I could rock it better than she could. I'm just saying. I started experimenting with the clothing and I did the lipstick one day. You should see all the hateful comments I got. But well, wait a minute. Before you jump on me, let me show you this again. Look at the likes up there, top of the screen. Now, you can see my likes and 116 views, 142 likes. Thanks for the likes, by the way. This has been fun. This has been very informative, in my opinion. And I think Trump supporters and Democrats, everybody needs to see I'm not a cult follower. I voted for Trump. Okay? But fair's fair, says the hair. You screwing around with girls and you're messing around with laws. Every one of us needs to face the consequences of that. Okay? This guy, this is a dude. If you look at his chest and the tattoos, pretty soft boy there. Probably got skin as smooth as a girl. Probably never operated a push mower, never drove a truck, never framed, never sheetrock. You want to hear something funny? You got women today that their hygiene's iffy. Even the celebs. Remember Julia Roberts when she had a jungle under her arms? Shoot, I'm better looking under my arms than most women. I'm 59. Can I tell you something? My mother and dad who adopted me, when they were 40, they looked older than I do now. My dad had a lot of hair loss, balding, big old pot gut. He was overweight. My mother, when she took pictures, she was like this. You know, she did not have a natural smile. She was unhappy. And those people abused me and put me down, and the scar tissue is real. As a man, at 59, I'm naturally body and naked better looking than most of the women my age today. I'm going to say that. So I could go to Asia. I could probably go to Poland. I could go to China, Vietnam, Thailand, and I can find women my age over there with no makeup, no lipstick, no implants, slender and petite that could still rock it and me. And this is what our culture exalts, is this crap. That. I'm offended by that. They don't showcase petite Asian women. They're not showcasing Hispanic women. They're not showcasing beautiful, regular, normal, natural hair black women. I say that because all these women with attitude in the black community that are out there in the forefront, they don't even have real hair. They just like to run your fingers through their wig, baby. It's funny when you see these women with an attitude acting up and somebody pulls their wig off. It's like, ooh, a little humbling. A lot of women in our country have an attitude, and then they'll judge me. Oh my gosh, you're dressed like a girl. Shoot, I look more lady than you do, and I'm more man than you'll ever be. So, boom. You think you're going to get anything good with a Lady Gaga? Doubtful. A headache, a nasty divorce. You call that attractive? You think that's pretty? I don't understand why she'd even do that. There's nothing pretty about that. That looks like something a teenage girl would do in her bedroom. She's almost looking like a furry and a court jester, and I don't know what. Looks like something exploded on the back burner. That's a trip. I remember the days of Farrah Fawcett. Long, beautiful hair. Charlie's Angels. Catherine Bach. Bo Derek. Women that actually were hot. Today's who's who. Saran wrap. Peeps. Scooter pies, marshmallow desserts that taste good, but there's no substance. You got a cargo shipload after cargo shipload, Mayor's container ships full of girls all over the internet that think they're all that on a stick, all that in a bag of chips. They don't have any of this. They have no content. They have no depth of soul. They're not discussing the greater issues of life. And they're getting the hearts and likes because a bunch of simps and a growing number of women that are interested in women. I was in Wheat Ridge Rec Center, and a Native American, slender, petite woman, not bad looking, with an attitude, full of hatred, would come into the sauna and complain about men. She admitted she was a lesbian. And one day she said to me and several people in there, I said, so you seeing any woman? No, they won't date me because I'm currently unemployed. Then they say, you don't have your own place and you're not making money. And I said, oh, you mean the women are doing the same thing to you that they do to men? What do you mean? I said, well, I have a job. I save my money. And the only reason I don't have my own place is I'm a caretaker for property and I live on premises. But I will leave one day and buy a house. Women won't date me because I'm not dangerous enough or bad boy. I think it's funny you're going through the same thing. You expect preferential treatment? Let me tell you what's wrong with society, folks. Get a close shave, pull on a long-haired wig, shave my legs. I could wear a skirt, a dress, put lotion on me head to toe where I'm smooth. I could get a date. If I was a lesbian woman, I'd have a better chance of getting a date with a hot-looking female in America as a lesbian. I could have a good chance of getting a muscular, smooth, good-looking man, homosexual relationship than I could ever have right now as a man without the lipstick and this on. I cannot get a good-looking girl date in Augusta or anywhere in the U.S. where it would last and turn into something good. And people will criticize, because there's something wrong. No, that's not true. Before you think I've always dressed like this, I haven't. What I have found that's fascinating is that women are coming on to me now more wearing the women's fashion. I love a man who can explore his feminine side. Really? So that begs the question, are women liking me because I'm male, but they can explore their lesbian fantasies when I dress feminine? Absolutely. They love that. Women like Kinkster. They don't want a guy with jeans and a t-shirt who owns a house and works a job. They're not into that anymore. This house was built in 1953. If I look the way I do in 1953, lived here, had the same thing I have, there would be women, black and white, in Augusta that would be, man, I want to date him. That's how much times have changed. In 1953, you didn't have this. That wasn't going on. That was taboo. Everything about that was taboo. The hair dye, the tats. I've looked at pictures. My grandpa had a book in the bathroom. It was somewhat soft porn, but it had Greta Garbo, and it was a black and white photo album of the who's who from the 20s, 30s, and 40s in Hollywood. I would look at that. I'm like, wow. The women back then were naturally and truly beautiful with the long flowing hair, no hair dye, no implants. Oh my gosh, they were stunning. This is factory. This is assembly line chicks. Fell out of a makeup bag, fell out of TJ Maxx. There's a lot wrong with our society. And then you wonder why men are looking at young women. Look at what women my age are doing to themselves. Now, let's be honest here. This is Ghislaine. Little more of a natural beauty. She's got a little bit of sag going on, but she is not bad looking for her age. At least as of that photo. A lot more natural looking than Gaga. She's got her eyebrows and her hair match. Isn't that something? I love American women that make fun of me and make hurtful, hateful, rude comments. Dark eyebrows, fake blonde hair. And you're criticizing me. That's funny. You didn't color coordinate. You've got the eyebrows aren't matching this, which tells me you're a little girl that can't grow up and accept your hair color. What is the problem? Why do women dye their hair blonde? Why is it that they do that? Because they're cookie cutter stupid. That's why. I said it. I'll own it. I won't apologize. I like women with black, raven black hair. That is my first and foremost preference. Most white women are destroying their hair. They got highlights and flavors and frostings and coloring. There's a woman a couple years older than me at the office where I work. Very good looking frame on her. She's got all the frosting in the hair, got all the foundation and makeup. And we have the company lunch. She and I've chatted a few times. Somebody said, man, she's good looking. I'm not going to ask her out. She's not going to date me. She's still got that little attitude and that swag going on. But, I watch her. You're in a room full of people and that tells me a lot. She wants to be noticed. One day we were sitting in opposite places at that lunch. I caught her looking at me a few times and I looked at her. I learned something about women. You don't have to say a word. You don't have to give a creepy stare. They just want you to scan at them once and kind of go, they eat that stuff up. They don't want me to date her. They don't want any involvement. They just want their attention gas tank topped off. That's 90% of Caucasian women in our society. Yep. I've seen it as a YouTube person. I've seen it as people who try to get my attention and get on Discord, or they just want some attention. They have no intention of meeting me. They have no intention of going out with me. They will not go out with me. They just want me to notice them. They want me to fill up their attention gas tank. And that's all it is today. You're not going to get a date. They want to know if they still got it. Oh, I want to know if Michael's going to look at me and still think I'm something. that gives them a rush. It's sad. They don't want anything meaningful out of it. They just want that superficial, momentary, fleeting, I got attention today, nanny, nanny, boo, boo. And that's what happens when we have a passionless culture. Everything's boiled down to likes, hearts, and momentary attention. And it goes to the women's head. Oh, I got 30,000 people following me on Facebook. That doesn't mean anything. Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. Do you know how many of them are men? Do you know how many of them are lesbians? Do you know how many of them are lusting after you and that's it? They're not attracted to this. They're not attracted to this. You know how many men just like me can't get a date through no fault of their own? Do you know the social media has become the penis Olympics for most men today because women are ignoring us? They're not dating us. They're not interested. So now men can just involve themselves and drown themselves in fantasy. All these girls parading around scantily clad. It really is a systemic problem in our society. And it's sad. There are men that want a relationship. There are men that want one woman. And the women have just become immature, vain, and they're just acting silly. I'm not going to date a woman who dyes her hair blonde and is slathered in the makeup. Sorry. When you have steak, TV dinners are good. I like Swanson TV dinners as a kid. But when you've had fine cuisine, when I dated naturally pretty women overseas, and I want to say some hard stuff here. Filipinas that don't have body odor and bad breath and smell like God knows what. And I heard American women say, oh, the women over there are stinky and bad hygiene. Honey, what a lie. Filipinas are cleaner and smell better than most American women. And they don't even have to work hard at it. All has to do with diet. They're not eating cheeseburgers and junk food and chips and coffee and smoking. And have you ever smelled a woman who drinks coffee, drinks liquor, and smokes? Woo, baby. The breath kicking out of women like that is awful. I know. I had a friend. Everybody thought she was my girlfriend in transportation, a white woman. She had a drinking problem. She had to have her pot of coffee and she smoked. And that combination of breath was just like, I wouldn't kiss on that. And she wears shirts where those dark areolas were showing through a white shirt. I mean, she aroused me in the looks. Her house was a mess. And rats were running through it. And her daughter was coming on to me, and I didn't act on that. I'm like, never date a woman whose daughter is prettier and her daughter wasn't smoking and drinking. Yikes. I don't go there anymore. There is, I got things to talk about. Because a lot of people get on my channel and they love to judge. I can't believe how many men go on about what I'm wearing. Men, are you okay? How many men go around worrying about what Michael's got on his chest? How come you're on here with your shirt off? Because I'm in my house. There's no violation of standard to be shirtless. Ghislaine Maxwell, whatever her name is, strange name. I mean, I look at her and she wasn't involved in all that. If a woman like that, looking like that, came onto me, I'd be like, okay, I'll date you. I'd like to feel a real woman against me. That would just be hot. Instead, she's doing teen girls. Unbelievable. And she's with Epstein, who is not exactly GQ. I tell you, and you look at Trump. took a Russian wife, and I lived overseas, and I'm sorry, these women don't love their men. They're gold digging minor 49ers, man. I have a hard time believing that she loves Donald. We that voted for him, and I'm going to disassociate myself from one element of the Trump crowd. I don't want and will not wear a MAGA hat because I'm not into that. Give me a president who does a dang job. That's it. I'm not going to buy Trump shirts, Trump pants, Trump briefs, Trump shoes. Yeah, I got a sticker on the back of my truck. But the man or the woman you idolize is going to let you down. It's ridiculous. And the Bible's very clear about idolatry. The Bible's very clear to Lady Gaga and others. Do not think of yourselves more highly than you ought. People ask me, would I date a woman and marry a woman that has tats all over her? Yeah, she got saved, was a conservative, and loved me and wasn't a problem to me. Absolutely. Would I date a black woman? I have many times. Would I date an Asian woman? I have many times. Would you date a Hispanic? I have a few times. Would you date a white woman? Yes. On many conditions. Just as women talk about all men this and that, a lot of white women generalizations can be made based on pattern recognition. I think a lot of women are very superficial. They got nasally voices. They talk about their dogs. They talk about their Starbucks. I'm not interested in those kind of women because there's no depth to them. And women have been packaged by corporate America. They've been bought and owned by them. They spend $8 daily on coffee at Starbucks. Do you know what Starbucks stands for? Do you know where their heart and allegiance is? And you're tithing an industry that hates Donald Trump, hates Israel. My question to you, conservative women, what are you doing? If Starbucks were to fail, it's not a loss. There's no nutritional value. Do you notice that women go after things that have no nutritional value, no substantial, good, long-term anything? Think about it. Grown men get on here and make fun of me. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the reflection of myself. It's not AI. All you clown trolls, get back to me when you're 59 and let me know if you look like this. I don't care what you think about me and my shirt and I put lipstick on. I don't care because I look at society going stupid over this stuff. I don't do that. What has this guy done to himself? What is he doing to himself? And he's got a whole crowd of people that are going, oh, yeah, this is it, man. We're going to go down to Arnold's Cafe tonight and watch the show. When this guy's 59, I promise you, he's not going to have this physique. No, no, and no. Most people today in this culture, specifically women, that thought they were all that, the rude teen, the moody teen, the I'm so hot teen, the 20s, 30s, now at 59, they have more in common with this than any of that. Yep, I said it. I'll own it. Apologies not included. Sold separately. And I couldn't believe all the flack I got for this by men. I would never listen to a guy that has a mullet. Well, then get on my channel, you skid mark on a toilet bowl. There was nothing feminine looking about that. I got so much criticism for that hair. It was ridiculous. I like being unique and breaking stereotypes. You know, I had the stigma of thick Coke bottle glasses and I hated it. And people still do that. They think I'm a nerd or a geek. I'm anything but that. They stigmatize you, making fun of handicap. Vision is a handicap. It is a handicap. When your vision is affected badly, that's a handicap. And people would make fun of, they would criticize people for making fun of handicapped people, but then they'll criticize me for Coke bottles. Funny how that works. At least I can see. I hate glasses. I've always hated having to wear them. But yes, women have changed. There's no reason in a normal society, when I look at myself, I look at the fact I work, don't do drugs, I couldn't get a slender, petite woman who loves me. Oh no. It would be easier for me to get a date with a man than it would be with a woman. And I don't want to date with a man. A man can't give me what I need, ever. If I was a lesbian, I would have an easier time getting a date with a hot woman than a man would. Tell me that women aren't upside down and back asswards in America today. Absolutely. They've changed. We've all changed. Some have changed to the point of, you've got to be kidding. Are you living in an alternate universe? Planet, I don't know what. Thanks for listening, viewers. Have a good day. Be interesting to see what else comes out of this spider web of all the connections with Epstein. Be safe out there. For those of you that went through the storm this weekend and the ice, be careful. Slow down. Use your head. Till next time.